Hello, I'm Dr. Russell Don, President of Concordia University Chicago. Thank you for tuning in to today's Cougar Athletics broadcast. We take great pride in the strength of both our athletic and academic programs, which are rooted in our steadfast commitment to Jesus Christ. Dedicated to the liberal arts as a foundation of a high-quality college degree, we believe education should form individuals for service to their neighbors. This makes Concordia Chicago an exciting and fulfilling place to study, work, learn, and grow. Learn more today by visiting cuchicago.edu. Thank you, and go Cougars!
Good afternoon, Cougar fans, and welcome to Concordia Stadium for today's conference matchup between the visiting Spartans of Aurora University and the Cougars of Concordia University Chicago. I am Parker Kelly, joined up in the booth by Rafael Gonzalez. Let's go ahead and give you a quick rundown of the starting lineups. First, for the visiting Spartans. In goal, number 0, Jalen Diepenbrock. Number 2, Max Crawford. Number 3, Anthony Marmaleo. Number 4, Julian Orozco. Number 6, Jose Castro. Number 7, Omar Saldana. Number 8, Gio Villegas. Number 10, Enrique Gonzalez. Number 14, Haziel Enriquez. Number 21, David Peters. And number 31, Carlos Villara. The Spartans are coached by Ryan Lakin, wearing their all-blue kits with white numbering and black outline. Now let's look at the Cougars. In goal, the senior, number 35, Joseph Perez. Number 2, Julian Yanes. Number 3, Andrew Lechuga. Number 7, Garrett Pointer. Number 10, Spencer Nicholson. Number 12, Giovanni Velasquez. Number 14, Evan Perez. Number 15, Joseph Smeriglio. Number 21, Roberto Romero. Number 24, Brandon Arias. Number 30, Alexander Lekowitz. And the Cougars are coached in his first season by Brad Callahan. As we are getting underway here in River Forest, the Spartans will conduct the opening kickoff, and we are all set for some soccer in River Forest. Perez will come out of goal, get a stop, and the Cougars are going on offense. Dribbling down the near sideline is Arias. He tries to find Smeriglio, but good defense by the Spartans. Looks like the maroon and gold will stay on the offensive end, as we'll get a throw in from Arias. Throw it into Julian Yanes. Arias working with it on the near sideline. Good defense again from the Spartans. I believe that was number 6, Jose Castro. We'll get goal kick by Jalen Diepenbrock, the goalie for Aurora this afternoon. And Roth, this is a Spartans team who ended up winning the NAC championship last season. They had a berth in the first round of the NCAA tournament, but fell to Gustavus Adolphus College 2-0 in the first round. This is a good Spartans team. What should be the game plan this afternoon if you're the Cougars?
Well, the Cougars, what they have to do, they have to play a lot more, cautious approach today compared to what they did this past week against Lakeland, where in the opening half of that game, they really did a good job attacking the ball and being really expressive and having a lot of creative freedom on the pitch. Today, it won't be the same case today against a very strong Aurora team who, as you mentioned, won the conference last year, came into the season as the runner-up in the preseason poll. So for them, it's going to be very critical here early on in this game to remain in a tie with them, and as the game further progresses, the more confidence they're going to build themselves as long as they keep playing that way.
The Spartans come into today with a 3-2-2 record, which is good for second in the NAC. They were also projected at the start of the preseason to finish second in the NAC, just behind MSOE. So pretty good start for the Spartans. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the Cougars are looking for their first win of the season this afternoon. If they were able to get one today, it would be monumental.
It will be monumental. They have come close this year, and obviously the last game we called, which was against Lakeland this past weekend, they had a really good first half. And in the second half, as the game further progressed, fatigue started to set in with this team. And what really stood out in the first half of that game, which is what they should do again today, is use the play of Alexander Lekowitz, number 30 for this team, out on the near far side of the pitch, put him in a winger position right there and let him use his ability to get past defenders and create beautiful crosses and balls into the box.
Lekowitz has really came on the scene as of recently. He leads the team in assist with 2. He's also scored a goal for the Cougars. I believe it was in that last game versus Lakeland. So really good play from the sophomore from Chicago. And he will be relied upon heavily this afternoon against a Spartans team who has had a lot of success in recent years.
Yeah, this Spartans team has done really well this year. They have a lot of playmakers up in their front 3. So we see right here, a shot just goes a little wide. See there, the best player on the team, number 3, Anthony Arnold, right there with 6 assists to him this year. And then you have Enrique Gonzalez, the senior, who led the team in goals last year. Once again, leads the team with 4 goals so far.
And that right there, we saw the shot attempt from the Cougars. That's something that has been hard for the offense to generate. We see that they've, prior to this game, attempted 64 total shots, which ranks in the middle, 7th in the NAC. That is something that is going to be a focal point today. Get more shots up against a really good Aurora team. And Aurora, that shot misses the left of the net. It looked like it might have had a chance as Perez came out of goal. Just misses wide left.
It's a rare miss right there for Gonzalez. You mentioned him beforehand how he's been the key goal scorer for this team this year, and he just missed it right there. A rare miss from him, as he's been often, one of the most accurate players on this entire Aurora team.
Definitely a good opportunity right there for the Spartans, just not able to capitalize. Let's focus on Joseph Perez. He's a 5th-year senior. He has a lot of experience in River Forest. He's been solid in goal pretty much all season here, and he's going to need to step up even more so today against a Spartans team who is very, very successful on the offensive end. And as soon as I say that, the Spartans get a goal off the foot of, I believe that was Anthony Marmolio. So the Spartans strike first here in River Forest.
It's a quick burst of pace right there by Marmolio right there, getting past Perez. And right there, the Cougars, the defenders were calling for an offsides right there. That wasn't the case, and Marmolio had a wide open goal right there, tap it in, and gives them the 1-0 lead for the Spartans.
At least from our viewpoint in the booth, I thought that might be an offsides as well. Looks like the Cougars are trying to discuss things over, and we're not even entire 6 minutes into the game, and Aurora gets on the board first. Kind of looking at the season statistics, Aurora has attempted 109 shots prior to this game as well, which ranks 3rd in the NAC. They've also scored 15 goals so far in the season, which ranks 4th. So they're at the top end of the conference as far as offense is concerned, and we saw it right there off the shot of Marmoleo.
This is now the 2nd game in a row for this Cougars team, which they fall down early. Remember against Lakeland, a similar situation like happened today. A goal that the Cougars ball was offside, still counted. And what happened in the game against Lakeland, they immediately responded back. So the question is today, can they do the same thing today as they did this past weekend?
Saw in that previous matchup versus the Muskies how good the Cougars can be on offense. But what we saw is that team really fell apart in the second half, and in order to compete against a very formidable opponent in the Spartans, you got to play throughout the entire game. So that is going to be another focal point for the Cougars in this afternoon's matchup, as we see Aurora working with it again in Cougar territory. Smariglio not able to track it as the ball will roll out of bounds. We get a throw in from the Spartans right here. And they'll go back to work on offense.
That's the key. That's the key for the Cougars, is primarily, to keep the pace and keep the fatigue not at a high level. Because in the first half, they did a really good job. The problem was they used all of their energy in that first half, and as the game further progressed, particularly in the last 20 minutes of that second half against Lakeland, we saw just the lack of depth on the bench this Cougars team has really cost them in the end. Whereas like Lakeland, they had a lot of players they could put onto the pitch as substitutions, which today a similar case when you look at just the depth of both rosters. So it'll be very curious to see how this Cougars team maintains freshness here throughout this entire 90 minutes.
Now the Spartans trying to get out of their own territory. Saw a little bit of offense right there from the Cougars, just not able to get an opportunity. And that ball will roll towards the Cougars' side of the bench. Another throw in right here from the Spartans. Handling it was Omar Saldana. So pretty nice conditions for today's soccer match. I believe it's around 70 degrees, partly cloudy. Beautiful day for some soccer here in the Chicagoland area. So the Cougars trying to make a defensive stand right here. Now they get the ball right back. That's deflected off of a Spartan. Now the Spartans will take things in to their own possession. Nice header right there from Smariglio, who gets it to Pointer. Pointer trying to make something happen. Believe he will have stepped out of bounds as we get a couple whistles blown by the on-field officials. Pointer, one of the dominant offensive players for the Cougars, leads the team in total shots with 22. He also leads the team shots on goal with 17, which ranks first in the NAC.
Yeah, this team is very dependent on Pointer, and he's going to need to have a breakout performance here today against a really good Aurora defense. And what he has to do today, because in the last two games, against Rockford and Lakeland, he wasn't much of a factor as he wished that himself and the team was. So what he's going to need to do today is going to have to play more of that like central forward role, almost like in the false nine, and come back a little more towards sort of like in the midfield to help create starting an attack rather than being more upfront and advance forward and waiting for the ball to get to him.
Now looks like we'll get a free kick awarded to the Spartans. And I believe offsides will be called. So the first time we've seen that penalty called, and it goes against the Spartans. Perez will get it to Yanez. And Smariglio tripped up by Castro. Cougars will stay on offense as Yanez sends it back to Velasquez.
Yanez, another man who, we haven't talked about much, was a big factor in the first half of that game against, Lakeland. He had a goal and assist to his name. So we'll see him a couple times today try to move up towards the pitch, and help out moments of attack.
And now Aurora with a potential opportunity. And I believe that was through the net, and it landed in the net, came out of the bottom, if I'm not mistaken. You can tell by the body language of the Cougars that that was a goal. So I believe the Spartans take a pretty commanding 2-0 lead here in the 34th minute. Correction, the score will remain at 1-0. I believe that was not a goal. So correction, that was the first goal for the Spartans. The one in which we thought was a goal earlier in the half was not a goal, so that one's wiped off the board, but that will be the first goal of the afternoon for the Spartans. Hit the top right of the goal off the right foot of Anthony Marleo, and the assist by Hazil Enriquez.
Yeah, nice finish there by Marmolejo right there on his right foot right there. And a really good pass, and it was all set up right there from Enriquez. Just like that, it's 1-0 lead for the Spartans.
That's now the third goal of the season for Marmolejo, and the second assist for, that would be the fourth assist for Hazil Enriquez. That ball travels way over the net. And possession will go right back to the Spartans.
Yeah, Pointer right there had a long distance effort right there. Just a little bit high above the net right there. But, trying to, create some lucky opportunities potentially.
So the Spartans trying to get out of their own territory. The Cougars trying to get a defensive stop. As they find themselves down 1-0 here early in the first half. Yanez tries to track it down, but the Spartans having not a whole lot of issues moving the ball as they traveled right down the field in a hurry. Good defensive play by the back line of the Cougars. Saw the Spartans really march down the length of the pitch, but in the end, that back line of the Cougars prevailed as they try to get another stop right there. Good save by Perez.
And this is a critical game here for Perez, trying to regain his confidence. Last game, obviously, conceded several goals, got replaced in the second half. Obviously, now, as a goalkeeper, you want to see happen to yourself. So, today it's all about regaining confidence and, making sure that Coach Callahan believes in you to continue to be the number one starting goalkeeper, because otherwise there might be a situation where maybe Coach Callahan might have to make a decision between who will be the number one goalkeeper between him or Kyle Schultz.
And an excellent opportunity to do so. Another great defensive play by Perez. We talked about a lot how dangerous the Spartans are on offense. We see they got a goal pretty quickly, so really good opportunity for Perez to gain some of that confidence back and show Coach Callahan that he is the guy. Good clear out right there from Arias, who will send it deep.
Those are some of the things that the Cougars are going to have to do, through this game, give their defenders and Perez sort of a little bit of a break right here and sort of, recharge and re-energize. But as I say that, the Spartans countering attack quickly.
And it looks like we might have a penalty on the Cougars. It looks like Velasquez got a little handsy, and a free kick will be awarded to the Spartans. We see Velasquez running things over with the on-field official.
There, Velasquez was trying to, get his shoulder up right there, trying to drag the attacker on the ground. This is a bit of a smart foul, though, considering how, the attacker already was passing him. So it would have led to a potential one-on-one opportunity between the Spartan attacker and Perez. So good foul in reality, given the situation.
So a yellow card awarded to Giovanni Velasquez for unsporting will result in the free kick by Aurora. That kick is through the net and over the outstretched arms of Perez. And Aurora goes up 2-0.
Right there was a superb strike right there from the Spartan player right there. Scored by number 8, Gio Villegas right there. Beautiful finish right there on his right foot, perfectly in the upper 90 corner right there. Unfortunately, right there, the situation, for Perez, he couldn't do anything in that situation right there. Just more about just how well the shot was placed. And Cougars now are falling down here 2-0.
So as it turns out, that yellow card by Velasquez proves to be very costly for the Cougars. And Roth, you brought up a great point. I don't care who you are in goalie. That was a very well-placed shot, and really not much Perez could have done right there.
Yeah, those are just shots right there where it's like you just have to throw your arms up as a goalkeeper and just, nothing really he can have done right there differently. Perfect placement from him and a great diving effort. It was just a lot more better shot execution right there.
See it pinged inside that top left corner of the goal off the right foot of Gio Villegas. So the Spartans now with the commanding 2-0 lead. Cougars could really use some offense right here. So we see Lekowitz trying to find Romero. Cougars working with it on the far sideline. Has that taken away by the Spartans. Now the Spartans with a little bit of momentum down the field, full head of steam. Good clear right there from Nicholson. But Castro able to track it down. Sends it to his teammate Omar Saldana. And ball will travel out of bounds. Last touch by the Cougars, so the Spartans will stay with the ball in their possession.
The one thing that the Spartans have done really well so far is that they have been taking advantage of the wide open space in the midfield that this Cougars team has sort of given them, because the Cougars, they want to play more, horizontally out wide, and yet the Spartans team likes to play across the middle of the pitch.
Nice header from Pointer. Now Lechuga, first time we've called his name today. And he gets tripped up. I believe that was by number 31, Carlos Vieira, freshman from Aurora. Now Perez tries to find Romero. Now the Spartans back on offense, trying to march down the length of the field. Good defense right there from Arias. Now Lekowitz. Spartans take it right back. And Perez will come out of goal with the stop.
Job there by Perez, moving from his net right there and not allowing Gonzalez the one-on-one opportunity he would have had against him right there if he didn't come out of his net. So smart IQ play from him.
Really high IQ play by the senior. Now Giannis will send it right back to Perez. Arias has a defender draped all over him, and Spartans having no problem getting the stop. Good defensive play right there from Evan Perez.
Nice job there by Perez coming back right there on that last attack from the Spartans, retrieving the ball.
Now whistles blow. Believe Spartans will go back on offense.
We've seen Pointer, try to take the ball, on his own across the middle of the pitch right there and try to, create some passes, opportunities for themselves, but it just hasn't been easy so far. Using his, body to take advantage. It's a good save there.
Nice save from Perez.
And Pointer so far, he's done a really good job, trying to outmuscle, Spartan players, trying to get him down on the ground. But so far, he needs to get help, across the middle of the pitch as well.
Now the Spartans with an opportunity deflects off of the right leg of Lekowitz. Spartans take it right back, but not if Pointer has something to say about it. Pointer working down the far sideline. Tries to outrun a Spartan defender. He dumps it off to Lechuga. Lechuga not able to get to it. Nice clear out right there from Jalen Dippenbrock. So, Rolf, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe if you're the Cougars, you've already found out that this is not going to be a defensive game, that you have to kind of match the tempo of Aurora's offense. What do the Cougars really need to do to get that offense going?
They need to start setting people more up forward in the attack, particularly when they retain possession. And the key thing that they've been having issues so far is that they really don't have many players in the midfield, whereas Aurora, you're usually constantly seeing 2 or 3 players, immediately trying to win the ball back, whereas the Cougars, they're trying to, play on either side of the pitch on the far and near side. And so far, that has not worked for them so far.
Now, Velazquez with a deep attempt and a nice diving save by Deppenbrock. That one looked like it might have had a chance. Cougars take it right back. And Nicholson trying to find Romero. Nice clear out from the Spartans. And now Pointer tries to get it to Nicholson, but the Spartans playing pretty stingy defense.
The freshman right there, Julian Roscoe right there, tremendous job right there, stretching out of his leg right there to stop the pass. And, so far, these Cougars in these last few minutes are starting to get really good opportunities right now and are sort of, getting a lot more, freedom right now what to do in the pitch.
And now the Spartans are going to go right back to work. Seems that they've really dominated possession today. We're looking at the box score, 6 total shots from the Spartans, 5 of which have been on target. Meanwhile, for the Cougars, only 3 shots with 1 shot on goal. But if we're looking at the saves category, Joseph Perez, 3 saves so far as compared to Deppenbrock, who only has 1. Now, granted, Perez did allow the 2 goals, but you can argue that that last attempt from the Spartans, that last goal, really not a whole lot Perez could have done.
Well, he's going to come up clutch right here because the Spartans were with a penalty right there after the challenge from number 2, Julian Yanez right there. And Perez now, he has to step up huge here to not have his team go down 3-0.
So, conducting the kick for the Spartans will be number 10, Enrique Gonzalez. He approaches the ball, and it goes right past Perez for goal number 3 for the Spartans. Aurora leads CUC 3-0 with 22 minutes and 33 seconds remaining in the first half.
Quick penalty right there, taken from Gonzalez right there. And the last second before he kicked the ball right there, he stopped for a quick second right there to try to figure out which side Perez is going to dive on the ball. And just like that, it made Perez, freeze up for a moment. And that was the difference right there. Allowed Gonzalez the tap-in right there. And this is not the start these Cougars wanted here today.
So really the name of the game for the Cougars is penalties are costing this team. We see that the last 2 penalties awarded to the Cougars have resulted in Spartan goals. You take those penalties away, there's a chance it could still be a 1-0 game. Definitely doesn't make Coach Brad Callahan very happy.
Yeah, and then both, you had the free kick and the penalty right there. Both come from fouls right there that weren't necessarily really smart fouls, to take if you're the Cougars. And as because of that, it resulted in 2 of those 3 goals you mentioned, Parker.
So a couple of substitutions. First for the Cougars. Into the game comes Christopher DeBass in for Andrew Lechuga, and for Aurora and for Anthony Marmaleo comes Alex Sandoval, and also in for Gio Villegas, Brandon Dolezal. An opportunity for the Cougars is squandered again by that Spartan defense.
That time there was 4 Spartan defenders right there, showing how, they respect Pointer in this game right there, and how they do not want him, to have a good quality shot right there, because they know of his goal scoring, efficiency this year. So they've done a really good job trying to track him down at all times.
Now for the Spartans, another substitution. Nick Feet coming in for Max Crawford, as we'll get a corner kick from the Cougars right here. And an opportunity just goes right over the net for the Cougars. Corner kicks have come few and far between for the Cougars. Not able to convert right there.
Also a good header by attempt right there by Giannis. And just went over the net right there. And those are opportunities right now if you're a Cougars. Being down 3, you cannot squander right there.
Cougars have already had a limited amount of opportunities on offense to potentially get a score. When you get those opportunities, it's vital that you are able to capitalize against a high-tempo team in Aurora. A little history lesson all time versus Aurora. Cougars 4-17-1. That last matchup against the Spartans came last September, almost exactly a year ago, 9/21/2022, in which the Cougars fell to the Spartans 4-0. And the Cougars have a home record all time of 3-6-1, so really just this is a Cougars team that really struggles against Aurora, looking to change things here this afternoon as Lekowitz working down the pitch. Spartans take right back over. Perez is going to race to the ball. Nice stop right there. Now Lekowitz. He'll boot it out of bounds. Since it was last touched by the Cougars, Aurora are going to go back on offense. Get a throw in. It's number 21, David Peters. And now Saldana. Nice stop right there from Yanez. Things are getting a little chippy as we saw kind of a push off right there from the Spartans on Yanez. That ball will travel out of bounds onto the track. Now the Cougars are going to take back over on offense. Less than 20 minutes to play here in the first half.
These are, the remainder of the first half right here for this Cougars team. They need to, find that little burst of energy they had earlier a few minutes ago in the first half. And
that shot goes over the net. Looked like the Spartans might have had an opportunity to tack on 4 goals in the first half. But luckily for the Cougars, they catch a break as it goes over the goal.
So far, the Spartans team, they really haven't missed any shots so far. They have 8 so far, 6 of them on target. And right now, the Cougars, they really need to start trying to figure out how to play, out of your defensive third and start moving towards the midfield and creating, a little bit more possession.
It seems that the Cougars have just really struggled moving the ball downfield. And it seems like every time I look up, Aurora is in Cougar territory. They've been excellent in dominating possession here in the half.
And it's due in large part because of their counter-pressing. Every time the Cougars are trying to go, try to take it down the field for a counterattack, Aurora counters their own counter by pressing them.
Now Nicholson working with it. Send it to Smariglio, who sends it right back to Velasquez. Now Arias. He tries to go up against Gonzalez. That shot through the uprights, and it hits the bushes on the backside of the track. A little too much power right there from Velasquez. A deep shot attempt for sure.
So far, a lot of their Cougar shots have come, from distance so far.
Good defensive play right there from Lekowitz, now trying to get out of trouble. Finds Arias. And tries to get it to Nicholson, but Spartan's going to get another chance, another crack at it on the offensive end. That shot bounces right off of the near side post of the goal. So that will not count as a shot on goal for the Spartans, but a couple more inches inside, and that was goal number 4 for Aurora.
Goalkeeper's best friend right there. The old lucky post is what so far keeps this game, from only being down by 3 for a moment. And this could be, let's see if this is like a wake-up call right here for the Cougars.
A wake-up call it is for sure, as the Cougars just trying to get a clear out. Really struggled defensively against this high potent Spartan offense. Working with it in the corner is Castro. Good defensive play from Arias as he's able to take it away, but it doesn't really matter as Aurora goes back to work on offense. And Roth, if you're the Cougars, what's the game plan defensively?
They have to tighten up a lot more here. Throughout this game, they're starting to really, lose the structure defensively. You have a couple players out of position, and that's what's allowing Aurora all these really good, passes and goal-scoring opportunities right now. That's been sort of the key towards their success in the final third, particularly in that midfield area.
Now an opportunity for the Spartans, but offsides is called once again. So that's now the third time offsides has been called on Aurora here in the half. Now we'll get a free kick right here from Velasquez. A little back and forth right there. So he sends it to Yanez. Now Arias gets it to Pointer. Pointer trying to look for any holes within that Spartan defense. Now Lekowitz working with it in the mid-third. Perez tries to get it to Lekowitz. Not able to. Spartans get another stop.
So far, that midfield core for the Spartans. They're just continually, endlessly throughout this half, winning the ball back, in the midfield and just creating instant opportunities from it.
Seems that the Cougars have been primarily on defense. Another offsides called on the Spartans.
So that's the 4th offsides from them. It's interesting to see if this Cougars team, if they start playing, a little bit lower back line, because if they play way too high up the pitch defensively, it's going to allow more of those through ball opportunities where it'll allow the Spartans, attacking core, like Gonzalez and, Enriquez to really use their athleticism and their pace to get past, the defenders through long balls.
So we see in total 63 total fouls called on the Spartans prior to this afternoon's conference matchup. As that ball travels out of bounds and Aurora back on offense. It's time winding down here in the first half. And now we'll get a substitution for the Spartans. Into the game comes Alex Aurora, junior forward out of Chicago. So Coach Lakin getting a couple sets of fresh legs into the game. When you have a 3-0 lead, it's easier to make those substitutions for sure. Now we'll get a goal kick from Deppenbrock. And the Spartans working with it in the middle third as we approach the 10-minute mark here in the first half. Spartans with a giant lead over the Cougars, 3-0.
Nice job there defensively by Giannis right there, stepping up in front of the pass right there, showing just his talent right there as a defender.
Now that ball will go over to the Aurora bench, but last touched by CUC. So Spartans go right back to work. Aurora working with it on the far side of the pitch. Trying to get another opportunity in the final third. Nice play from Nicholson as he's really trying to do it all for the Cougars. And Aurora eventually prevails. Perez will come out of goal to get the stop. Send it to Arias. Now, Divas.
Now, if you're the Cougars right here, because right now, based on the way they're playing right now, it looks like they almost have like 3 primary center backs right now. Almost like trying to do like a 3-4-3 type of formation. You might want to switch it up here in the second half and have more like a 5-3-2, have, 3 center backs and then a right back and a left back, play more, I wouldn't say defensive, but more, flexible type of, formation and playing style.
As the Spartans boot that one over to the Cougar bench. So that means CUC try to get something going on offense before the halftime break. And another substitution for the Spartans. Into the game comes Nick Wellner, senior forward out of New Lenox, Illinois. And also a substitution for the Cougars. Into the game comes number 6, Leonel Areola, a freshman midfielder out of Chicago. And Ralph, a point of focus when doing these games, if you take a look at the benches for both sides, the Cougars really lack depth from a team perspective as compared to the Spartans, who have a considerable amount of depth.
And that's sort of been, the biggest, issue that these Cougars have had this year, because they have talented players. Unfortunately, when you compare it to the rest of the squads, in that conference, they just don't have enough, It's all about the depth, the strength in numbers, and that, is what the Spartans are showing right now here throughout this game. They've already used, 6 different substitutions, whereas the Cougars have only had 2 different subs play for them.
And a goal right there from Garrett Pointer. He'll get the Cougars on the board. Nice header right there as it just hits right inside the net. That's now goal number 3 of the season for Pointer. Excuse me, that is his 4th goal of the season, which leads the team. And the do-it-all man on offense for the Cougars gets the goal.
That is a beautiful header right there from Pointer. Perfect timing right there, and a perfect placement from him right there. And just like that, we talked about how it was going to be critical for him to get involved more in this game. He's already done that here throughout the first half, and now just like that, he has made a critical play for this Cougars team. And just like that, they're only down here by 2. Still have a lot of time remaining here in this game.
As we see Joseph Perez hits the turf.
That is not a good sign right there, to have your senior netminder, laying down right now.
So we'll go ahead and take a quick break in the action. We'll return. Cougars trail the Spartans 3-1. You're listening to the Cougar Sports Network. On his feet, we're back in action here in River Forest.
It's a great sign right there. Seeing Perez back up. Last thing this team wants to do right now is lose their starting netminder.
Definitely a good sign if you're Coach Callahan and the Cougars see your starting goalie back up on his feet. Looks like he may have just got the wind knocked out of him. But a good stop right there from Perez. So roll it to Yanez. Whistles blow on the field. And Pointer comes up a little bit gimpy. Looks like we'll get a substitution for him as well.
Also going back to Pointer's goal right there, the assist from a free kick right there came from number 12, Giovanni Velasquez, his first assist of the season right there. And that was a really great, cross he sent in right there to Pointer. And just a tremendous finish by number 7 in the all-white and maroon to give the Cougars, only a 2-goal deficit here with still plenty of time here in this one.
And into the game for Pointer comes number 19, Alfredo Jaramillo, junior out of Lyons, Illinois. Also get another substitution for the Spartans. Into the game comes Christian Correa in for Nick Wilner.
This is a big moment right here for Jaramillo. Only his 3rd star of the season here, coming in a tough situation, entering, with your team down by 2. So it's going to be interesting to see, can you do a good job, impacting this game.
And that's taken away from the Spartans. We'll go back to work on the offensive end as it was taken away from Areola. So the Cougars not completely out of it. That goal right there, obviously, from Pointer was huge. So find yourself down by 2 goals, under 4 minutes to play in the half. Cougars trying to generate something on offense to potentially decrease that lead a little bit more.
Well, the one thing this Cougars team has going for them in the upcoming second half, is they played a lot more better here in the last 45 minutes of the game compared to the first 45 minutes. You look at, they've only been outscored, by 1 goal in the second half, against opponents compared to in the first half, drastically different. So that's going for them in the second half. The key thing, though, for them is going to be, can this Cougars team, keep it up for 90 minutes, particularly, when it comes to, stamina and fatigue, because that's going to settle in right here as the sun starts to pop slowly back up here.
And that last yellow card given to CUC Spencer Nicholson. So that's now the second yellow card given to the Cougars this afternoon. The first one given to Giovanni Velasquez. And just observing this game, the Cougars' first 2 penalties resulted in a Spartan goal. So penalties have been costly for this team. Can't afford to get too many more of those.
Not only that, for Nicholson and Velasquez specifically, the last thing you want to do is get another yellow card and get sent off on a red card right here, especially how critical, both players are, to this team.
Now the Spartans working with it in the middle third. Whistles blow, but doesn't really halt the Spartan offense. They're still moving down the field. Spartans with a potential opportunity. That's deflected off the body of Nicholson. Cleared it back out, but the Spartans still remain in possession as we are now under 2 minutes to go here in the first half. Spartans really controlling the clock.
See how the Cougars team is playing very defensively here in these last 2 minutes. Trying to, not concede a goal right here and, only be down by 2 right here and still have a chance, to make a rally here in the second half.
Cougars are down by 2, but not out of it. Now the Spartans really eating away at that clock. Under a minute to go. And now Velasquez racing down the far sideline, tries to get it to Jaramillo. Ball pops straight up into the air off the head of Areola. Last touch by the Cougars. Spartans will go right back to work. 30 seconds remaining in the half.
So far, it hasn't been easy, for the Cougars to, try to counterattack on the other side so far. Because in that instance right there, you saw, 6, 7 Spartan players, retreating back compared to only the 3 players who are moving upwards towards the pitch for the Cougars. They need more numbers up if they want to really excel on making a good counterattack.
And the Spartans, with the last second shot, it misses the left side of the net, and we're heading into halftime. The Spartans with a 3-1 lead over the Cougars. And something interesting to note, see sophomore goalie Kyle Schultz warming up on the sideline. And Ralph, it makes me think that we might see a goalie change for the Cougars in the second.
Back-to-back games in which Schultz is going to be coming in the second half, down. So, once again, Coach Callahan putting him in a tough position right here. Let's see how he responds to that in the second half.
So the Cougars again down 3-1 to the Spartans. We'll come right back for some second half action. You're listening to the Cougar Sports Network.
Concordia University Chicago is a Christ-centered Lutheran university where truth, freedom, and vocation form students for lives of influence and service for the common good. Our university offers a wide variety of undergraduate and graduate degree options that are available in person and online. That means we have a program designed for you. Whether you're a high school student, an adult returning to complete your degree, or someone looking to enhance your credentials and prepare for career growth. As a member of this university community, you'll also find support in your spiritual and personal life so you can grow in the faith and discover ways to serve others. To start your next journey with us, visit cuchicago.edu today.
CUC nursing student and choose to stand tall for healing at a university that places Christ at the center and embraces teaching students to live a life fulfilled by purpose and meaning. Concordia University Chicago's new Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree is an innovative and rigorous 4-year program that will prepare you to rise to the daily challenges of a rewarding nursing career and serve a greater cause. Our newly built modern simulation center features 4 distinct spaces: a skills attainment lab, multi-specialty intensive care spaces, a health assessment learning center, and a simulated home environment. Due to our close proximity to many world-class teaching hospitals, CUC's clinical rotations offer an abundance of diverse and real-world experiences. Learn more about earning your BSN at a Christ-centered university today.
Fans, head over to CUCougars.com for everything CUC athletics. Just click on the sports tab and enter men's soccer to find rosters, schedules, stats, and more. Again, the website is CUCougars.com for everything CUC men's soccer. So as we approach the second half, Cougars trail the Spartans 3-1, and really Cougars didn't get much going on the offensive end until that nice goal we saw, the header from Garrett Pointer. So now if you're the Cougars, you've already found out that this is not going to be a defensive style game. It's going to be more lenient towards the offensive end. What do the Cougars have to do to kind of find those holes within the Spartan defense?
It's tough, because the Spartans team overall has played really well on all three, sides of the pitch. And the key thing here for the Cougars here in the second half is to, they have to play very quickly and up-tempo. We've seen the Spartans, how they're able to, do a good job, from starting out from their defensive line right there all the way from the midfield to the final third. They're able to string a couple of quick passes together. This Cougars team is not built for that against this very, strong Aurora team. So the key here for them is to immediately, once they win the ball back, is to counterattack quickly against the press of the Spartans team.
Cougars haven't had too many opportunities to score goals. We're just looking at the box score here. Total shots, the Spartans have had 10. I believe 7 of those have been on target. Meanwhile, for the Cougars, only 6 shots. So that number going to have to go up if the Cougars want to stay in this game. And Roth, to be honest, you found yourself down 3-0, and then the goal from Garrett Pointer really gave this team life. You're not out of it. You're only down by 2 goals. Now, it's a pretty good-sized lead for the Spartans, but you're not out of it completely. Also, something to note, we have a goalie change for the Cougars. Into the game comes sophomore Kyle Schultz. He will relieve Joseph Perez in goal. Schultz making his 6th appearance on the young season. Has recorded 12 saves and allowed 5 goals. So goals against average at 3.6. As we're underway here in the second half, Aurora gets another crack on the offensive end right here. Good defense right there from the Cougars as Nicholson dribbling. He'll get it to Lekowitz.
Going back to Schultz right here, as mentioned his save percentage right now this year at 70%. And his last appearance came just this past weekend against Lakeland. He came in for the final 18 minutes of the game, conceded a goal, but overall did a really good job, coming in a very tough situation this weekend. And now here he goes again, being down by 2-0 coming in.
So that is Perez who takes a tumble. He's the younger brother of goalie Joseph Perez. So that's kind of been a highlight here on the broadcast. 2 brothers on the team. Pretty cool feat for the Cougars. And Schultz with his first opportunity to make an impact as have some whistles blown.
It's going to be a penalty right here.
So penalty, it looks like we'll get a PK from the Spartans. So Schultz is going to be tested here early. The kick in the left corner of the net, and the Spartans, just like that, their 4th goal of the afternoon, coming not even 2 minutes into the second half.
So that's the second goal right there for Enrique Gonzalez right there. And once again, another bad foul right there, this time from Velasquez in the box. And just like that, if it wasn't for, those 2 penalties that the Cougars have committed, they will only be down by 1 right here. So it's just those, fundamental, those errors right now that have cost them big time.
Yeah, and you hit it right on the head, Roth. 3 penalties from the Cougars have resulted in 3 Aurora goals. You take those penalties out, there's a good chance that it could be a 1-1 game right now, but penalties really eating at the Cougars. It's something that they're going to have to clean up as you're really in the thick of conference play. NAC regular season play really in full swing right here. And a header from the Spartans going to trickle into the net. And another goal here in the second half as Schultz came out of the goal. And really heads up play right there from Anthony Marmaleo. Just hits the top center of the goal. Spartans with a commanding 5-1 lead.
So that's going to be his second goal of the day, and that came from a beautiful cross right there, right across the middle of the pitch into the box right there. And Schultz wasn't able to get there in time. And just like that, you know, the Cougars only 2.5 minutes ago were only down by 2, and since then now, the deficit now is doubled now at 4. Not the ideal start they wanted to have.
So looking at the box score, we've had 3 different Spartans score in today's game. Anthony Marmaleo with 2, Enrique Gonzalez also with 2, and Gio Villegas with 1.
Speaks to overall the talent that this Spartans team has. They came in today with 9 different players on this team scoring a goal. It just shows the versatility and depth this team has, and not just having to worry only about one player, but multiple players on the pitch every single moment of the game.
So that is now a new season high in goals for the Spartans. They've scored 5 here today. Their previous season high was actually their last game on Saturday as they took on Concordia, Wisconsin. They beat the Falcons 4-2. And now with 5 goals here in today's game, new season high for Aurora.
Yeah, in the last game you mentioned they defeated the Falcons 4-2 right there. It came in 3 of them in the second half after being down by 2-1. They since scored 3 unanswered goals in that game to win it 4-2. And just like that here today, same situation right here. They have quickly scored here in the second half to really have a comfortable size lead.
We see we'll get a substitution for the Cougars as Alfredo Harmarillo comes in for Giovanni Velasquez.
I think a key note, to mention, the Cougars, they were out their really star midfielder, Elijah Santiago, today was not active for today's game, so a big loss for the Cougars so far. And we've been seeing just how much of an impact, he's had on this team this season just by not being here today with the team.
Has been very costly for the Cougars for sure. As the Cougars going to get going on offense, and Roth, we've talked about this before. This is a Cougars team who can compete very, very well in the first half, but really when that second half rolls around, just doesn't look like the same Cougars team that really looked depleted, and I think a big part of that is due to lack of depth within this team.
You can only survive so long by having the same players, play out the entire game, and it came into effect, late in the going against Lakeland, and then here early on in this first half, second half, I should say, they allowed 2 goals in about 2.5 minutes, and it's not going to get any easier from here for this Cougars team. So they really right now have to change the way they're playing right now, be more attacking. The score is already how it is, 5-1. If they continue to play, a lot more cautious, conservative defensive type of way, they're not going to be able to come back from this game.
And if you're looking at it, this is a Cougars team who has, in their starting lineup, has a lot of talent. Guys like Pointer, Lekowitz, De Santiago, who we actually haven't seen today. But this is a talented team, but what it boils down to is, what happens when those guys play a lot of minutes? Who's going to come in for them? And that's really where the problem lies for the Cougars. As we'll get a goal kick right here from Schultz. They'll send it to Julian Yanez. ball will roll out of bounds, and Aurora pretty much doing the same thing they did in the first half, really dominating the possession, not allowing the Cougars to get much of anything going on offense.
They're just using, just their overall athleticism right there, particularly on the far side of the pitch and also on the near side, on both touch lines. And that's something that the Cougars so far haven't been able to adjust, throughout this game.
And a nice save right there from Schultz, his first recorded save of the afternoon. We see Schultz came in to relieve Perez. Coach Callahan making the switch at halftime. That shot bounces off of the right upright.
That was a nice setup right there from Castro. He had it down right there to Enriquez. Enriquez just blasted it with all his power right there and just hit the crossbar, not even the post.
We'll get another goal kick from Schultz. So he'll send that one deep looking for Pointer. Smeriglio able to get a header. And now Perez analyzes his options, tries to get it to Romero. Now Aurora back on offense. Nice save right there from Schultz. And now that one just right past him. Hits that bottom right corner of the net, and Aurora just continues to pound it on here in the second half.
It all began right there from a beautiful ball in from Orozco, and then a shot right there from Aurelio. It was a great save there by Schultz. Unfortunately, then the follow-up right there from Enriquez was put in. And just like that, now it's a 6-1 deficit right here for the Cougars.
The goal by number 14, Haziel Enriquez. The assist by Anthony Marmoleo. He is now the fourth different Spartan to score in today's affair. You saw that the Cougars had a chance. It was 3-1 at halftime, but you give up 3 goals. Make that 4 goals. And 4 of those goals from the Spartans have came within the first 8 minutes of the second half.
It has been a disaster second half here for Coach Callahan and the Cougars, and it seems like right now, whatever Aurora wants to do right now, they want to execute it really well. And just like that right here, the Spartans are just on cruise control right here.
I honestly can't believe my eyes. 4 goals scored in 8 minutes. They outdid themselves from what they did in the first half. This is just a offensive explosion from the Spartans.
Right now, you could just feel sort of right now just how the Cougars right now are just dead silent right now. A good save from Schultz right there, but right now, just the overall morale right now of this Cougars team right now is just deflated here after, they had a chance coming in the second half, to pull it back together. And since then, just in every way, shape, and form, it's not gone their way.
And you mentioned morale. If you're looking at the benches, everybody on Aurora's sideline standing up. And now all the players on the Cougars sideline sitting down. That just shows you where this game is at.
And it's not even just about today or what happened, on Saturday against Lakeland. This has been, the theme the entire season. They've come close several times this year to finally, pull through, and win a game, even draw a game. And so far, you just haven't been able to do it. And after some time, it starts to affect them, mentally and physically. I think that's what we're seeing right here for them.
And the Spartans are going to go right back to work on offense. And, Ralph, we still have 35 minutes to go in the half.
You would think, the way how the scoreline is right now, 7-1, you'd think we'd be like in the final 5-10 minutes of the game, and yet that's not the case right here. This Cougars team still has to continue playing, and, they have to, start start shipping up, get them in shape right here. And, try to get a goal right here, maybe a goal or two before this game ends, to make the scoreline a bit more respectable.
Looking at the box score, 18 total shots from the Spartans. And this is a Spartans team who has, in total, attempted 57 shots within second halves this year. We see 18 total shots for the team, 13 of which have been on target. Really, really outstanding percentage. And for the Cougars, haven't gotten into double digits in total shots, only have 7, 2 of which have been on goal. You combine that and with the penalties on the Cougars, and it's just a kind of a recipe for disaster at this stage in the game.
The Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. Unfortunately, that's been the case, today for the Cougars, which is, something that in the second half I didn't expect, because this is an Aurora team, that, they played really well this season, but in the second half they haven't really been all that impressive coming into the day, because they, have allowed opponents in the second half to score 11 goals, only them 7. This is a Cougars team that has done a lot more better job in the second half this year, and yet today, it has been the complete opposite for both teams and how they performed here in the second half from what they have normally performed throughout the entire season.
So we see that this is a Aurora team who came in 3-2-2, and it's a pretty solid record, but they don't look like a team who is 3-2-2. They look like a team that could potentially be with 0-1 losses. They have just really exploded onto the scene here in the second half. We mentioned those 4 goals within 8 minutes of play as Schultz comes out of goal to get the stop.
Well, they are showing today, the Spartans team, as to why they, came into the season, second in the preseason poll, in that conference. And, there's a reason why this team, was the defending conference champions last year, and they're showing it here today. Just talent all over the pitch.
Now an opportunity potentially right here for the Cougars. D-Bass's shot, I believe that is deflected off of the hand of Jalen Deppenbrock. So an opportunity squandered right there for the Cougars. It looked like a golden opportunity for the Cougars to get goal number 2.
It was a really good setup right there, from Perez. He passed it right there. To Dybas right in the middle of the pitch, right there, just outside the 18 box right there. That's a perfect, spot right there to have a shot. And Dybas, he even took, he stopped himself for a moment, looking to find a good shot.
And that is goal number 8 for the Spartans. They're just pounding it on here in the second half. We're not even 15 minutes into the half, and the Spartans have scored 5 goals in the second. That last one coming off of the right foot of Hazel Enriquez now has the hat trick, and the assist once again by Anthony Marmaleo. He himself has 3 assists in addition to his 2 goals. Those 2 just really been doing a large majority of the work on offense for the Spartans.
Right now, down here, this Cougars team, I was mentioning before, the last shot, by Dybas right there, it's just all about confidence right there. And, I think we saw maybe for a split second right there, he was overthinking the shot because, especially when you're down this big, you start to really overthink things as an athlete. And I think that's what happened right there at Dybas with a shot because it was a good shot. Just unfortunately, he just hit it, a bit too far from the upper 90 on the right-hand side of the corner.
Now get a substitution for CUC. Into the game comes Giovanni Lenos. First time we've called his name today. The freshman out of Cicero, Illinois. The forward comes in for Spencer Nicholson. And the Cougars really just look depleted out there here in the second half. Thought that, they might have created a little bit of momentum for themselves after the Pointer goal. But since that point, Cougars just have not been able to generate anything on offense. And Ralph, I feel like when you're playing as much defense as the Cougars are playing, I mean, you're only bound to get gassed.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way, honestly, to describe what is happening, with this Cougars team. You could only survive so long, by playing, almost like in football terms, the bend, don't break type of, style right there. And unfortunately, we're sitting here in the second half, the floodgates have opened up right here for the Spartans.
And an opportunity, goal number 9. Off the right foot of Anthony Marmoleo. He now has a hat trick himself. 3 goals on the afternoon. He just took it himself. Did it all for the Spartans. Spartans now with a gigantic lead over the Cougars, 9-1.
So Marmoleo now, he is the second player on this team today to have himself a hat trick right there. That was a really good pass right there, from Gio, Vegas right there, and the ball right there went through several of the Spartan Cougars players, and it fell right there into the feed of Marmolejo at the far post and put it in on the upper right-hand corner of the net.
So what we're seeing from Aurora, they're really forcing the Cougars to play their style of offense, that high-tempo, fast-paced style of play, and the Cougars just have not been able to keep up, and it's really evident here in this afternoon's matchup.
And that's, that type of, playing style, for the Cougars, the last thing, that they want to see teams, do, because we mentioned, how the lack of overall, squad players they have is what's been really killing them, here today.
And now Yanez dribbling down the field, finds Perez, who finds Vivas on the far or the near side of the pitch. He'll send it back out to Lechuga. Looked like Lechuga might have attempted a shot right there. Pretty easy save for Jalen Deppenbrock. We have a Cougar player down on the turf. Believe that is number 14, Evan Perez. On-field official taking a look at him, still laying down on the ground. On-field official is going to help Perez back onto his feet. Perez walking on his own power, which is a good sign if you're the Cougars. Perez really laying it all on the line for his team today.
Yeah, and then right now, at this point, they give the last thing you want to happen right now if you're the Cougars is to have any injuries, That's the last thing, they're going to want to see happen.
The Cougars really can't afford to have too many injuries considering their lack of depth. But Spencer Nicholson will come into the game for Perez. We saw that Nicholson was just subbed out not too long ago, and he makes a quick entrance right back into the game here in the second half for the Maroon and Gold. That ball is going to travel out of bounds, hits visitor baseball dugout. We'll get a substitution for the Spartans as well. Out of the game comes Omar Saldana, and into the game, number 37, Christian Correa. Working with it, it's number 2, Max Crawford. Cougars trying to get a defensive stand. Aurora with the potential opportunity. CUC just trying to get a clear out right here.
Fortunately, nothing has come easy today for this Cougars team, and we still have over 27 minutes to go. So the question now becomes, for this Cougars team, what will they do in these next 27 minutes? Will they continue to fight back, or will this team sort of, almost like submit to them? Because so far, here in this game so far, we've seen the Cougars, they've had some good opportunities. We saw the dive shot, a couple minutes ago. You go back all the way in the first half, Pointer had a couple up shots on net. And, right now the goal for this Cougars team is to find something here to end the game on a positive. It doesn't even have to be a goal, but just sort of, find which type of players, are, really still giving it all their effort and, just move on from there and just regroup and rebuild, for the next conference game.
And if you're the Cougars, it is pretty vital that you have a quick memory. Just got to flush today's performance and move on, because you don't really have time to linger on the losses when you're in the thick of conference play. An opportunity from Aurora. Nice diving save by Schultz.
And you mentioned right there, and Parker, they don't have much time to really turn things around because they have a game, this Saturday, away against Wisconsin Lutheran College. So they're going to have to bounce back quickly, after today.
On the road, quick turnaround for CUC for sure. Definitely don't have time to sulk. And the Spartans working with it. Cougars need a stop. And a Spartan player tripped up. I believe that is Alex Sandoval. On field, referee will help him back onto his feet.
That was a foul right there against Nicholson. And he has to be careful, Nicholson, remember, because he already got a yellow card, in the first half. The last thing you want right now is for Nicholson to get another yellow card and get sent off right there and play the rest of the game with only 10 men.
Nicholson definitely having to play smart for sure. Can't afford to get another costly penalty, because the Spartans have shown they're able to capitalize on those, as Schultz will come out of goal with a save. Cougars get set up on offense. Schultz will boot it deep. Nice header right there from the Spartans, and the Spartans are right back at work. That shot goes way up. That ball's going to travel out of bounds.
It almost looked like almost like a cross right there. A very weird, kick right there, to be quite honest right there. Haven't seen one of those in quite a long time.
Not sure if that was a pass or a shot, but nonetheless, the Spartans going to have an opportunity on offense, as we'll get a corner kick. This will be the second corner kick for the Spartans here in the game. We're going to get a substitution for Aurora as well. I'll give you that here in a second. As out of the game comes Carlos Vieira, and into the game comes Isaac Escobar. Now under 25 minutes here in regulation. Spartans continue to dominate possession. Another save right there from Schultz. His sixth save since entering into the game for Perez.
Schultz still doing his best out there, trying to try to perform still at a high level. It is tough, mentally, especially, he was brought in beginning of the second half, with this team already down by 2. And since then, they have, a little sort of have fallen off the wagon, unfortunately, for this Cougars team. But, it's still critical for Schultz to still give his 100% effort, as the goalkeeper.
Tough for the sophomore goalie as he enters the game at a point where you still have a chance, but then we see this really second half explosion from the Spartans and just really great shot selection from Aurora, really accurate ball placement, and not a lot that these goalies haven't been able to really control that.
And you mentioned, how second half Aurora's really been able to break the game wide open. You look at the statistics, they've had 12 shots so far in this half, and they only had 10 in the opening half, and we still have quite a while to go right here.
And at this point for the Cougars, you figure a comeback is improbable, but what's the message to your team? What is Brad Callahan saying to his players to keep them engaged? Because we're looking at the sidelines and nobody's talking, everybody's sitting down. What do you say to your team at this point?
It's tough, if you're Coach Callahan, because this is his first year, at the helm right here, and this is a Cougars team, where some of these players, they've had, 3 different head coaches in the past 3 years. So there hasn't been much, continuity between this entire squad. Every single year, we've seen a new coach come in, a new coach come out, trying to find the perfect head coach, for these players, and every single year they've had to adjust, to the way how the coaches are with them, to the way how the coaches want to play their type of, soccer, and it hasn't been really easy for this Cougars team.
And Callahan definitely was dealt a tough hand, as we see that this is a Cougar team they do have a decent amount of experience returning from last season, but then only have 2 freshmen that came in. So a really tough hand for Callahan, who was hired in the spring.
Yeah, this was, when hiring Coach Callahan, back during the offseason, this was not just a one-year plan. This is going to take several years, for this program to sort of rebuild themselves. Because just a few years ago, this was a program that, year after year was at the top of the NAC conference. And since then, in the past 2 years, it has not been that case. And in order for them to really start, performing at the level they were only a few years ago, they need to, sort of stick with one guy as the head coach, which I think Brad is, the guy who is capable of doing that. But they have to buy in and trust that what he's doing right now is going to help this team, down the line in about a year or 2 from now, where we really can start seeing him bring, his own players to this team and start really be able to create not only a playing style, but also just a culture, more importantly.
And it'll just be interesting to see how the Cougars respond because, like you mentioned, a quick turnaround on the road at Wisconsin Lutheran College on Saturday, and really just have to flush this game because dwelling on a performance like this not going to do the team any good. And I figure if you're Coach Callahan, who probably watches film with the team after games, probably just going to move on very quickly from this one.
Yeah, it's tough, just for the players themselves, because it's been sort of a theme, all season. They have tried their best, and unfortunately they just haven't been lucky this year. So we have an offsides right there. But going back to, as I was saying, it's tough, because this is not a team that, that just has lost 1 game or 2 games in a row. This is a team, that the entire year has not had much success. So after quite a while, what do you tell, your players to sort of, what are things you can say to them now that you haven't been able to say, beforehand?
Callahan's got to find a way to keep his team together. And I know that you mentioned this before, Roth, but really this team has got to stick together, and you really find out what you're made of in games like this. And the Cougars have got to figure that out.
I mentioned this, beforehand, more about the players and the overall team, not with success, but rather more through failure. And there's only so much, failure that just, for any athlete can take. And in this case, for this team, it hasn't, gone the way they could have wanted, so far this season.
as whistles blow here. We're under 20 minutes to go in the half, as we'll get 3 new substitutions for the Spartans. We'll get you those in just a second.
We also had, a few minutes ago, a goalkeeper change as well for the Spartans. As now Andrew Kittleson is now in for Deppenbrock earlier in this half, just about 5 minutes ago.
Deppenbrock, a pretty solid performance, 1 save. Aurora's offense and defense really aided Deppenbrock, where he didn't have to do a whole lot. Only 1 save, 1 goal allowed, and just about 67 minutes of play. And now we're seeing Kettleson, who hasn't been forced to do a whole lot either. Really, it's just been the Aurora offense going to work, and the Cougars defense has been forced to play a lot of tough minutes. As a nice diving save from Schultz, and the fighting will come to an end as Aurora tacks on goal number 10.
And that right there were just 4 consecutive shots right there. Rebound after rebound opportunity right there for the Spartans. And, Schultz, he made 2 tremendous saves right there. And that's really impressive to see from him. We continue to see just how tough he is, playing as the goalkeeper in the situation. Unfortunately, the last shot right there just went past him, just barely past the line right there. And just like that, the Spartans are up at double digits now on the board.
That last goal coming from the foot of Stefan Soldat, sophomore out of LaGrange, Illinois. That's his first goal of his sophomore campaign. We'll also get you those substitutions from Aurora. So Ben Omernick coming in for Ben Gamino, Alex Orega coming in for Max Crawford, and obviously Stefan Soldat coming in for Brandon Dolezal. Spartans going right back to work on offense.
Nice job right there. But remember, a really good challenge right there. Being able to, get the ball right there without fouling, the Aurora midfielder.
I'm sorry, that last goal was by Alex Orega, not by Stefan Soldat. Soldat did have a shot attempt, but it was one of the 3 saves we saw from that possession from Kyle Schultz. But ultimately, it was Orega who scored the goal. Now another corner kick from the Spartans. And a save by Schultz, and Kyle Schultz has just been thrown into the fire, been forced to, do a lot for this Cougars team defensively.
Yeah, and look, despite the amount of goals Aurora scored here in the second half, it's pretty relevant at this point. Kyle Schultz has done a really good job, stepping in, made some really good saves here in this half, and he continues, to show, that he is ready, to eventually, become the #1 goalkeeper here, potentially starting maybe even next year for this team.
And right now, it appears that would be the case, as Perez, we saw in the first half, 5th-year senior, Kyle Schultz looking to be the guy for next season.
And it's one of the toughest things, for a team, when you don't have, a goalkeeper, waiting, to get ready to become sort of a starter. It's almost like in, think about it in football, once the 5th-year senior leaves and you look at the rest of the quarterback room, there isn't really anyone else who could step up. Luckily for the Cougars in this case, they have Schultz, for obviously, hopefully for the next 2+ years after this year.
And Schultz getting some really good minutes in his sophomore campaign. And that experience will definitely benefit him throughout the remainder of his career as a Cougar. And for the Cougars, number 12, Giovanni Velasquez will make his way back into the game, looking to get some more minutes here in River Forest in this conference matchup versus the Spartans.
Velasquez was the man who assisted Garrett Pointer's goal in the first half right there when it came from a free kick.
And now Pointer with an opportunity, just misses the right side of the net. Pointer has been the leading shot taker for the Cougars coming into today. Attempted 22 shots, which ranks fourth in the NAC. We mentioned those 17 shots on goal, which rank first. But today we've seen Pointer has scored the lone goal of the day for the Cougars. Has attempted 3 shots, one of which was a shot on goal.
You know, Pointer's been one of the, I would say, most impressive players today for this Cougars team, because if you remember going all the way back, you know, in the first half, I talked about how Pointer is going to be critical for him, you know, to get more involved on the attack, as he's done a really good job of doing that today. You know, we've seen him, you know, play a little bit more down in the midfield, you know, trying to help create other opportunities for his teammates. So far, you know, Pointer's really stood out in this game.
There's no doubt that Pointer, one of the better players on offense for the Cougars. We'll get a throw in right here from the Spartans. And goal number 11, a header right there from the Spartans. And they now lead the Cougars by double-digit goals.
It has just been a statement day, you know, for the Spartans and for the rest of the SNAC conference, you know, reminding everyone why they were the reigning champions last season. So they have just taken control here in the second half. And very impressed.
Goal coming off of the foot of Isaac Escobar. His first goal of the game.
We're starting to see, you know, a lot of, you know, players for Aurora who, you know, haven't really had much time, you know, to play this year, you know, given the circumstances of the scoreline right now. They're getting, you know, critical experience, you know, not just permanent for this year, but, you know, if you're Aurora right now, you're the head coach, you know, Ryan Lakin, you're looking for players who, you know, will be a key contributing part of this team, you know, next year. That's what you're doing right now by having a lot of your typical reserve players who don't play often in the games do right now.
And Isaac Escobar, his freshman out of Aurora, has scored his first goal of his career. This is actually the first time we've seen him make an appearance in any game so far this season.
Yeah, Escobar, you know, the freshman you mentioned right there, defender. So not often you see defenders scoring goals right there, but Escobar gets his first career goal, and he'll remember that for the rest of his collegiate career.
Always remember your first goal. And now Nicholson tries to get a pass off to Giovanni Velasquez, but save right there from Andrew Kettleson.
Sorry, that was a really good outlet pass right there to Velasquez. Velasquez did actually a really good job, you know, getting past, you know, both defenders right there. And unfortunately, just from Nicholson right there, just too much power right there on the pass, too much speed, so to speak.
And an opportunity right there for the Spartans, just misses the net. And now shot attempt number 32 for the Spartans, a incredibly high amount of shots, high volume for sure.
They came into the day having, 109 shots, and today, they've almost nearly hit almost like 1/5 of that total just in this game today.
Just been a offensive explosion, the only way I know how to describe it. Now been under 10 minutes, about 8:30 left in the half. Opportunity right there. Good defense. Is that ricochets off of Lekowitz.
Offsides right there.
Another offsides penalty on the Spartans. I believe that is the 5th time they've been called for offsides, and I feel like that's a pretty common call considering the tempo in which this Spartan offense operates.
Just at the speed that some of these players have, for Aurora, and we mentioned, with their bench, they're able to, make substitutions, early and often throughout this game and keep players, fresh, and re-energize. And we've seen that as a reason why they've had, a lot of offside calls against them. Remember, they even had a goal, at the beginning of the game that was called back on offsides.
That ball will roll out of bounds towards the Spartan sideline. Throw in from the Cougars. Now Velasquez tries to get it off to Pointer. Pointer will send it right back to Nicholson. Cougars have just had an incredibly hard time as Yanez boots that one back to Schultz, but Cougars have just had an incredibly hard time really getting to that final third. We see 9 shots in total for Cougars, 2 of which have been shots on goal. And that number has definitely got to go up as you get deeper and deeper into conference play.
And with this Cougars team, overall, you look at last year, one of the biggest issues was their, inability to score goals, and yet this year it's the complete opposite. They haven't been able to score goals as they have, today. And the real weakness, on this team so far this year has been, their defense, so to speak. And today it's not been easy for them covering these Aurora attackers.
And Aurora done a great job of really spreading out this Cougar defense and just everybody getting in on the action. Seeing a hat trick from Anthony Marmoleo, a hat trick from Haziel Enriquez, 2 goals from Enrique Gonzalez, goal from Gio Vajigas, another goal from Alex Orega, and a goal from Isaac Escobar. So 6 different Spartans have scored in today's match. Really impressive number.
And it speaks volumes, the overall squad talent that this Spartans team has in general.
If you're Coach Callahan, you have a tall task in really keeping your team together, keeping your team engaged. I mean, win or a loss like this is just it does a lot to your overall team morale. And just gotta, if you're the Cougars, short-term memory, flush this loss and move on to what lies ahead because you still have a lot of season left to play.
And this is all just, part of what is going to be a, not a retool, but a rebuild, for this Cougars team, and it's going to be harder for them at first, because they're still trying to figure a lot of things out. But as time progresses, I think things are really going to start turning upward right here for this Cougars team.
An opportunity for the Spartans. And that is through the net for goal number 12. And the Spartans just continue to tack it on here in the second half.
That was a really Nice finish right there at the bottom left-hand corner right there. It appeared the goal scorer was from number 37, Christian Correa. Yes, and it was him right there. It was first of the day right there. Really nice job right there. Stopping right there and then moving his body, towards a little bit more to the left-hand side of the pitch and then shooting it right there in the bottom left-hand corner.
That's Christian Correa's first goal of the season. The senior out of Des Plaines, Illinois, went to Maine West High School. Now, approaching the 3-minute mark here in the second half. 3 minutes about to go in regulation.
It's a good save right there from Schultz. So that we now save number 9 for him today.
Another save from Schultz. Schultz now in, I believe that's now double-digit saves for him. Now, Giovanni Velasquez is trying to make something happen. Whistles blow.
Now, what we saw from Velasquez right there, that is what you want to see right now if you're Coach Gahan. You want players to continue to fight right there. And Velasquez, those are things right there as a coach. You look and you really realize what kind of player you have on your team. Velasquez right there, we know a lot more about him right there than what we've seen throughout the majority of the game just by him, continually fighting, for the ball, considering the way how the game has gone for them here in the second half.
So Velasquez tries to get another goal to pair with the Garrett Pointer goal we saw in the first half. That shot just misses the net. That kick had a lot of speed, a lot of velocity behind it. Just not able to find its way to the back of the net.
Just missed it right there on the inside post right there. But, Velasquez, he's got an assist to his name today. He's continued to play really hard, for this Cougars team. So him and Pointer, I think, have been one of the two really standouts we've had so far today in terms of their efforts.
Spartans working down the field again as we now have 1 minute remaining in regulation. Schultz will boot that one. It intended for Velasquez, who's the closest Cougar in the vicinity. This one is approaching the end. Time winding down here in the match. 10 seconds remaining. And a last-second goal for the Spartans. Believe that is going to count. And the nail in the coffin for the Spartans as they come on the road and get a statement victory, 13-1 over the Cougars. And it really, Roth, not a whole lot to talk about, but we saw that it was a 3-1 affair heading into halftime, and then the Spartans just come out on fire and score 10 goals in that second half, and it just seems that the Cougars really fell apart.
You mentioned right there, just words cannot really just describe what happened here, in the second half. And this is a game, for the Cougars that they're going to want to forget for, a long time right here. And we talked about how, this coming Saturday, they're on the road against Wisconsin Lutheran. How do you rebound? I think is the big question for this team, considering just what happened here today. Because for most of these players, I don't think they've really had this type of defeat. Really, losing by 12 goals. Sometimes you have a few games where you lose by a couple of goals here and there. You think, oh, what could I have done differently? And in this case, just there wasn't really much that the Cougars could do, and that's just the reality of what happened today.
The Cougars definitely have to flush this one. Quick look ahead for both sides. The Spartans will be back in action on Saturday as they travel to Fond du Lac, Wisconsin to take on the Sabres of Marian University. And they will hit the road not too long after that as they travel to North Central College on Monday night, September 25th. Kickoff scheduled for 7 p.m. For the Cougars, also a quick turnaround as they travel to Wisconsin Lutheran College on Saturday. Kickoff set for 3:30 p.m. Real quick, want to give a shout out to our student workers who were able to make this production possible. Working the camera, Abby Cooley, our producer, Kate Johnson. Down on the table on the far side of the field, Amaya Martin. Working the scoreboard is Janie Turnez. On the other camera, Sydney Lloyd. Our photographer for the day, Peter Borkowski. We are under the direction of Cindy Palaskis-Laher and our sports information director, Kayla McLeod. As for me and my partner, Rafael Gonzalez, I'm Parker Kelly signing off on the Cougar Sports Network. We will see you soon. Just wanted to say, as always, go Cougars.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Concordia University Chicago Cougars Athletics broadcast. We hope to see you on campus very soon. If you would like to learn more about what Concordia Chicago has to offer, go to cuchicago.edu.